There's no better education than getting out and seeing the world.
The experiences are what you're going to remember in the long run.
Getting out to see the world has just really opened my eyes to a lot of things.
I know a little bit about a lot of random things, and that's because of travel.
We're going to be able to learn so much about some really great destinations.
I'm excited about how this will improve our group itineraries.
I'm really looking forward to having great conversations about places. Welcome to Destination Dispatch.
Hello, I'm Jim Delleman with Group Travel Odyssey. Thank you for joining us once again. As I say every week before we actually get started, if you are just joining us for the first time or if you've not done so yet, please make sure to follow us on our social media channels. If you're watching us on YouTube right now, hit that little subscribe button down below. And also, if you ring the bell, you will be notified anytime that we have new content on our YouTube channel. You can also connect with us on LinkedIn at Group Travel Odyssey, and make sure to like our Facebook page as well. One of the things I do want to remind you, as we're going through and talking to our guests today and learning more and more about Mobile, Alabama, you can ask questions. If you are on any of these platforms, all you need to do is type your question in. We do have a moderator that's watching these, and they'll bring them to our attention. And we will make sure to ask our guest any questions that you may submit. So don't forget, you can submit questions as we're going along. Well, before we get started learning about Mobile, Alabama, I do want to bring on our hosts. So let's welcome, first of all, the lead navigator of Group Travel Odyssey, as well as the host of Business Navigator. Please welcome Keith Snowd. Hey, Keith. Oh, you're muted. Hold on a sec.
Do that.
There we go.
Hey, Jim, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm good, except for being muted. So
it's one of those
good.
Days, you know?
Yeah, looking forward to the discussion about Mobile.
I am too. I really am. I have to say it's someplace I've not been, but I'm looking forward to learning more. And also, let's bring on our other co-host. He is the host of the podcast Destinations Beyond Expectations. Please welcome Stevie G. Hey, Stevie.
Check. Is this thing on? Can you guys hear me? Okay.
Okay, make fun of me. Just go ahead. That's fine.
Happy Thursday.
Happy Thursday indeed. Friday Eve again.
Friday Eve, yes, absolutely.
Like
for a holiday weekend, nonetheless.
Oh my gosh, I almost forgot. I cannot believe I almost forgot that. Yes, that's right. It is a long weekend.
Yeah, you got some fireworks to watch up there in New York.
Yes, we do. Quite a spectacular display coming up. So
yes.
Mm-hmm. And Stevie, have you been to Mobile?
You know, we were talking about this right as before the show kicked off. I'm in the camp of people who have driven through Mobile. Obviously, it's very accessible by highway. I've never actually spent time in Mobile, so I have not. But how about you guys? Have you been?
So I'm the only one here that's actually been there. Wow.
But, you know, as happens whenever we do these, we'll probably find yet another place that we're adding to our vacation list. So
yes. Well, I have to be honest, though. I was there when I was 10.
Oh, my.
So, and I have not been back since. So,
it was 15 years ago, right, Keith? 15 years ago?
Yeah, it was like 15 years ago. Stevie G, you just got a raise.
Wow.
Always the charmer. Uh-huh.
I love it. Oh my gosh. Well, you know, I'm looking forward to finding out more. And I know that, between the location of it and the seafood and everything that there is to do, it just has, you know, there's so much to offer. But instead of us, again, talking about it, let's bring on our guest today from Visit Mobile. Please welcome Michael Dorie. Hi, Michael.
Hey, guys.
Thank you for joining us today.
Oh, my pleasure. I'm happy to be here.
Excellent. You know, as you heard, probably, you know, we were talking about, you know, Keith's not been there since he was 10 years old, which Stevie G seems to think was 15 years ago.
Watch it, Jim.
I know, sorry. And Stevie has driven through. I have not been. And, you know, I'm looking forward to finding out so much more about what Mobile has to offer. What would you say are some of the main reasons why people should consider Mobile, Alabama for their group travel?
We highlight 5 reasons in particular. Those are the top things we talk about. Our ecotourism, fantastic natural resources to explore here. Our culinary scene here is absolutely top notch. Cue the food pictures for sure. Our history, we're over 300 years old. There's a lot of history can be written in 320 years. We've got fantastic arts and cultural scene. And then, of course, everybody's favorite, and a lot of people don't always associate that with Mobile, but I'm here to change that, which is Mardi Gras. We are the oldest Mardi Gras celebration in the U.S. We were celebrating Mardi Gras before New Orleans was even a city. So it goes way back, and we have a very rich tradition of Mardi Gras here, and it is definitely worth checking out for anyone that's never been to a Mobile Mardi Gras. I cannot encourage it enough.
Wow,
that's incredible. So you mentioned ecotourism, and I know that is something that is kind of a growth market in a lot of places. What kind of things do you guys offer for the ecotourism market?
Well, we're perfectly situated right here. We're right on the Gulf Coast. So we've got 60 miles of shoreline, beautiful sandy beaches right here along our coast. Dauphin Island is a fisherman's paradise. It's right there on the Gulf of Mexico. We've got Mobile Bay, which actually I noticed here in the chart behind me, you can see beautiful Mobile Bay. But a great inshore fishing. We have an annual sailboat regatta that runs the length of the bay. And then you get north of that, you get up into our Mobile Tensaw River Delta, which is a lush ecosystem full of bird watching and kayaking and canoeing. And there's a local tour company that takes boats to take you out there to see alligators and wildflowers and all kinds of great things. So getting outside is not hard to do. There's lots of things to do outdoors here.
Wow. So what, in terms of groups, do all of the ecotourism, I know some of those outdoor activities and things like that are often limited in how many people you can take. How do they handle groups, and are most of them very group friendly?
Most of them are group friendly. The motorboat tour that I was talking about, we've actually got 2 boat companies that work here locally. One is a pontoon style boat that goes out into the marshes looking for alligators and wildlife, and they can handle up to 49 passengers, which suits a motor coach group quite well. And then we have a larger river boat that is in the port and downtown Mobile, does some dinner cruises and sightseeing cruises, can go up the river looking for wildlife, and they're limited to 149 passengers. So also very group friendly.
So
now, go ahead, Keith. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
All right. I was reading that there's a lot of history in Mobile. It's an older city. In fact, I think it's one of the oldest cities in Alabama. Talk to me a little bit about the history of the city. Give us some background, and maybe how can someone find out more about the history of Mobile?
Oh yeah, history, tons of it. Like I said, we're founded in 1702, so over 300 years old. We boast that we've flown 6 flags. 6 different flags have flown over the city of Mobile. We've got the French, the Spanish, the British, the Confederate States, and then actually before Alabama joined the Confederacy, it actually seceded from the Union and was the Republic of Alabama for a while. And for a while, I mean like 30 days. And then we joined the Confederacy, and then we've flown under the U.S. flag. So tons of history and stories that go along with each and every one of those flags. Right downtown, in the heart of our downtown, where our visitor center is also the home to the History Museum of Mobile, which is a top-notch history museum. It's the building it sits in. It used to be a courthouse, so that even the building itself has tremendous history, and it's a great jumping-off point to learn about the history of Mobile and the surrounding areas, and then from there, the city's yours to explore.
Well, so with all that history, and you mentioned that it is the oldest location celebrating Mardi Gras in the United States. I'm curious about that. What, if a group were to come during Mardi Gras, what does Mobile bring to the Mardi Gras celebration that's uniquely Mobile?
Well, first of all, they'll stop you at the county line and remind you that this is the home of Mardi Gras. So, everyone is always sure to point that out when groups come in. But there's parades throughout the days, fantastic food. We've got it's called the Mobile Carnival Museum, which is a historical museum which is solely dedicated to the history of Mardi Gras. You can see the beautiful ornate crowns and capes and everything that is worn by the kings and queens of the parades, all on display. There are guided tours of the Carnival Museum where you can learn more about the history. It's really neat. And what we often do for groups is, they'll come in during the day, maybe explore the History Museum or the Carnival Museum, kind of get some of the backstory, maybe go out and do a river tour or some other activity during the day, and then position themselves downtown to watch the parades as they roll through the streets in the evenings. It's a great end of the day. So there's ways that we can incorporate Mardi Gras as well as other things during the Mardi Gras season. And Mardi Gras runs 18 days every year. The dates vary a little bit. It's all tied to the Lenten calendar. Ash Wednesday, the day before that, is always Fat Tuesday. So it works backwards from there. Again, 18 days ending on Fat Tuesday, the big celebration before Ash Wednesday and the Lent season.
Now, we work with a lot of student tour operators, and are groups allowed to perform in the parades?
Yes, absolutely. They sure are. Every parade is going to have floats as well as marching bands and all kinds of other things. So we advertise that to student travel groups that for performance opportunities, there's no better opportunity than Mardi Gras. Not only do we have dozens of parade opportunities, but it's a way for students to come down, participate in Mardi Gras, see it firsthand, learn about the rich history of the event, and of course explore our city. So that's definitely an attractive selling point that we pitch to student travel groups for performance opportunities.
That's great.
Yeah.
And you were also saying, I believe, that your Mardi Gras is a little more family friendly.
Oh, it certainly is. Yeah. I know, Bourbon Street in New Orleans, can be fun for the right crowd, but for some people it might just be a little bit too much. And so we very much advertise ours as a family friendly Mardi Gras, where you're not afraid to bring your children, not afraid to bring your grandparents. So it's a lot of fun for all ages, and definitely worth the time to make that a point of your visit.
That's great.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I know you guys are pretty close to, the beach and everything. Can you talk about some of the experiences that come with that, whether it be boat tours, cruising, just beach time? What opportunities are there?
Yeah. Dauphin Island is right here in Mobile County. It's a, 30, 40-minute drive south from the city of Mobile. And it's got the Mobile Bay to the north and the Gulf of Mexico on its south side. So it's a beautiful place, beautiful sandy beaches. There's great kayaking. There's Fort Gaines that we saw there in the picture. So it's got a Civil War era fort on the island. It's got the Aquarium of Alabama, which is a really cool hands-on area where you can learn about the ecosystems of the area. Dauphin Island has the Audubon birding trail, where if you just want to go out for a nice walk or a bike ride on a paved nature trail and take in some birding, it's a fantastic place to do that. Kayak rentals, kayak tours, those are very popular. Right here on the coast, we get a lot of sailboats as well, so there's some sailing opportunities.
Fantastic. I know with your location and being where you are, with some Delta area and everything else, you have a rather robust seafood experience there. So please tell us about the culinary and seafood experiences that we can have when we come to Mobile.
Oh, there is countless opportunities. It's one of the things we really brag on is our Alabama Gulf Coast seafood. And so no shortage of restaurants. We've got restaurants that specialize in nothing but seafood and fresh shrimp and crabs and fresh caught seafood. But then we've got others that dabble in a little bit of everything else. We've got some world-class restaurants, some James Beard Award nominated chefs, just no shortage of fantastic food. Another thing we can do with groups is take them to where the fish are caught. Down just south of the city of Mobile is a fishing village some of you may have heard of called Bayou La Batterie, Alabama. It was mentioned in that little indie film called Forrest Gump. You might have heard of that. But Bayou La Batterie is a real place, and it's a real shrimping area, a real fishing and shrimping area. And we've taken groups down where they get to tour the shrimp boats and watch the boats come in and unload and watch the shrimp go through a processing factory and get packaged and frozen and ready to ship off to a restaurant. And then we drive 3 minutes up the road and go have a shrimp boil out back of a local restaurant. So these are all things that can be arranged for local group tour operators.
That sounds like a fascinating day for a group right now. Like it really does.
Yeah.
You know, something different that you can't get a lot of other places.
Yeah, that's true. And you get to watch the whole process. It doesn't get any more fresh. You literally watch it come off the boats, and within 30 minutes you can be enjoying it with a cold beverage.
So I'm going to ask my favorite question, because I always like to ask this question. What's the one, it could be two, things that you think groups overlook frequently when they come to your area that they should do? It's probably some of the ecotourism things. I'm very passionate about it. I got my start in tourism with ecotourism, doing boat tours and guided excursions and things of that nature. So I'm super passionate about it, and I tell people that if you're going to come to Mobile to get outdoors and see some of these natural resources, they're world class. Again, Mobile Bay is absolutely gorgeous. The Mobile Tensas Delta, again, it's 250,000 acres. Just this pristine wilderness of biological diversity, unlike just about anywhere else on the planet. The amount of plants and animals that can be found here is just extraordinary. And so whether it be just a walk along one of our many boardwalks that allows you to look out over the water and experience some of the nature, with a nature guide, someone leading you on a walk along the boardwalk, talking about the plants and animals that you're seeing, talking about the waterways and how these have been utilized for centuries. And then kayak opportunities, boat tour opportunities. There's so many ways to get out on the water or near the water and learn about this great place. People don't always think of, when you think the words ecotourism, people don't always think of South Alabama, but it's world class if you take the time to go out and look for it. That's great.
Michael, what's something new in your area that groups can explore and discover?
One of the really neat things that we've been talking a lot about, and you guys may, if you follow national news and the stories, there's the slave ship Clotilda. It's thought to be the very last slave ship to bring imported slaves into the U.S. And it was, the story goes, it was brought in 1860, and the slaves were unloaded, and the ship was burned and abandoned out in the Mobile Tensas Delta. Well, in 2019, that ship was discovered and identified as the remains of the Clotilda. And so a lot of fascinating history and stories have come about with the discovery of the Clotilda wreck. And a group called the Clotilda Descendants Association, which is a group that can actually trace their lineage to those imported slaves on the Clotilda, which is quite a rare feat. Many slaves that were brought into the U.S. have no idea where they came from or who their ancestors were, and so on. So there's that direct lineage. And after the Civil War, again, the ship was brought in 1860, and the 110 captives were brought in and enslaved. And then in 1865, when the Civil War ended and the slaves were freed, these folks had tried to make their way back to Africa, but were unsuccessful. So they gathered together and pooled their money and bought a piece of land, and they called it Africatown. And Africatown began to thrive in the late 1800s and early 1900s. In the mid 1950s, 1960s, it had over 12,000 residents with this little community that was founded by imported slaves. So today, with the finding of the Clotilda, the recapturing of some of these lost stories that have been lost, the revitalization of the Africatown community. There's a new museum called the Heritage House, which is being built in Africatown to tell the story of the ship and the town and the way that they've worked together. So it's really great stuff. And so it's a popular discussion topic as I've been talking to group tour operators recently. We had some large groups in here recently going up to the site of the Clotilda wreck, experiencing and exploring the Africatown community and talking about the new museum. So that's one of the really hot items to talk about right now.
Yeah, it's extremely fascinating.
It's an absolutely fascinating story, and then working with the Clotilda Descendants Association and the groups in Africatown, it's the stories that come out of this are just absolutely fantastic from all these different perspectives. And it's definitely worth checking out.
That's truly amazing. I have one more question before we get into itineraries and stuff. I do want to find out from you, what is the ease of getting into Mobile for groups, whether it's motor coaches or flying? What is the ease for them to travel in?
We're right at a major crossroads. We are right here at the junction of Interstate I-65. So you come south from the Midwest, and then we're right here on Interstate 10. So if you're traveling west along the Gulf Coast or east, between New Orleans and Atlanta, New Orleans and Florida. So right there at the junction of I-65 and I-10. So lots of great interstate travel to get you to us. We do have a regional airport at this time, which typically flies in and out from hub to Dallas or to Atlanta. I think we go to Charlotte as well. But some really exciting news for groups is that we are building a new international airport right in our downtown area, which is scheduled to open in 2024.
Excellent.
That's called Brookley Field, and it's minutes from our downtown hotels, our walkable downtown and entertainment districts. It'll be 4 or 5 minute car ride. So again, 2024. Mark your calendars. And being an international airport, they haven't announced where the flights and markets it'll connect to, but we're very anxiously awaiting that and hoping that we can open up and expand to some more major markets.
Wow, that's incredible. It really is.
It's a big deal for us, not only for groups but conventions and leisure tourists as well. A bigger airport means more flights and more access.
Wow, that's really great.
It is great.
Well, we're going to find out some more in just a couple moments, but first we want to hear a little bit from some of our partners. Stevie?
Group Travel Odyssey would like to take a moment to thank our amazing partners, including Book My Group, Travel Advocates, We Travel, Broadway Inbound, and Fly My Group. These partnerships help make business without boundaries possible, and we encourage our viewers to learn more about these wonderful companies. Now, back to Destination Dispatch.
Okay, so we are back and we're finding out everything that we possibly can about Mobile, Alabama. And right now I'm going to turn things over to Keith and Michael, and they're going to take you through one of the sample itineraries that we have for you. So take it away.
Great. So I want to remind everyone that if you search trip templates in Sales Manager app of GTO, you will be able to search Mobile, Alabama and find this sample itinerary there, along with many other sample itineraries that we have available. So that template can be used to build your own trip without having to re-enter all of the data, which is fantastic. So, Michael, this is a great 3-day itinerary. I've enjoyed reading it. And I want to let you kind of walk us through this. I'm going to see if I can make this just a little bit bigger. There we go. And that way we can all see it. And you can take the lead here and talk us through the 3 days in Mobile.
Okay. Well, when you guys invited me on here and said pick a 3-day itinerary, I was like, oh man, it's like trying to pick your favorite kid, right? Because you get passionate about all of them, and they're all really fantastic, and it's hard to just pick one. But I mentioned that I have a background in tours. I was a boat captain and tour guide for many years, so I'm really this one's kind of near and dear to me because I love the art of guided tours. And I think it's a really important way to see a city where you come in from outside and you get to have a local lead you through and kind of point some things out. So I picked the sightseeing itinerary with the guided tours to talk about today because, again, it's near and dear to me. And of course, we always tell people, and this is probably redundant, but all of these itineraries are customizable and they're really just suggestion. Anything can be mixed and matched and dropped and added. And but for a 3-day itinerary, we talk about the different types of tours, city walking tours. Secret History Tours is really fantastic. It's owned and operated by a history professor, and he's very passionate about history and loves telling the stories and takes it to that next level. And they'll do evening ghost tours carrying a torch down the sidewalk, leading the way, and just dressing in costumes and really kind of really recreating that whole experience of what it would have been like to walk the back alleys of Mobile in the early 1800s and talking to pirates and folks coming off the boats in the seaport.
Do you actually get to talk to a pirate? Because that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Again, they do different themes, and they offer seasonally, throughout the year. If you go to their website, they'll have a couple different tour options. And again, for groups that are, planning, weeks or months or years ahead of time, there's opportunities to work with the tour operators to really kind of customize the tours and really kind of get the vibe and create an itinerary based around your interest.
That's great.
And so, and again, these are walking tours. Most of them will take place right from our history museum downtown. And, it's not 2 to 3 hours of fast paced walking. It's walk a block and stop and hang out, and tell some stories. So it's really fun. And like I said, I think I put on their current tour options, even though they change throughout the year. Right now, they're offering one about Creole magic, Confederate skeletons, and the last slave ship, which ties into the Clotilda story that I was talking about. So
yeah.
And one of those companies that's constantly changing and updating their tours. So, if you haven't been in a while, you come back and they're offering a different tour than what they did the last time you were here.
And then on to what's going to be my favorite thing on the itinerary.
Yeah, you mentioned that we first got on before the show. I talk about Airbus, and Mobile has got some really great, natural resources and things like that. And we've also got some cool manufacturing facilities. And the Airbus final assembly line is one of them. It's one of only a few cities in the world that makes airplanes for Airbus. They've just expanded the assembly line. And in conjunction with the Airbus assembly plant, they have what's called FlightWorks Alabama, which is a little hands-on aviation museum. And so you get to get into a flight simulator. They've got a cross-section of a airplane cabin. You can see all the wiring that goes into them. Outside, they have a drone aviary where you can go out and fly these drones, and it's really, really great. So it comes hands-on. And then
a drone aviary. I don't think I've ever heard that in my life. That's incredible.
See,
it's really cool.
It's really cool. So it's a big netted in area, and they've got 20 or 30 drones that you get to fly around, and it's really neat. It's good for for young kids, older kids, adults, seniors. Just it's cool. Who isn't fascinated by airplanes?
Yeah.
And then you get to do the assembly line tour where you go into the factory and actually see workers putting rivets and paint and assembling these airplanes, the same one you may have flown into Mobile on just the day before. So it is fantastic. It's a really neat thing and something we're very proud of here.
That's fantastic.
Mm-hmm. So again, of course, after a couple tours and talking to airplanes, you get hungry. So then you got to go eat, right? And like I said, we've got no shortage of opportunities. Just in our downtown alone, we've got over 60 restaurants of all shapes and sizes and different cuisines. And again, we're not afraid to eat here. So lots of great opportunities. And again, as a group tour operator, these are things that we can schedule well in advance. And as a DMO, we're happy to share information and send you menus and opportunities and group friendly restaurants, the ones that really cater and can handle larger groups with bus parking and group tour menus and things like that. So we're happy to work with you to find the one that fits your needs and tastes.
And I have to say, Michael, the nice thing about the way you have this itinerary laid out is that you've got a really nice play back and forth of history and current things, but also just allowing people to, oftentimes with the group tours, you spend so much time on the motor coach, you spend so much time sitting and listening to things. I feel like there's a good balance here of getting people out, like you were saying, walkable downtown. You could, give people time to do dinner on their own. They can actually walk and get out and enjoy the outside, things like that. So there's a nice balance so far, I really feel, which works well for groups to kind of make sure that people aren't doing the same thing all day, which is great.
Yeah, no, again, I 100% feel the same way, to be on a 2 or 3 day motor coach tour where you very rarely get off the coach and it's just one guide or another person talking to you over and over. It starts to kind of blend together. So by getting off the bus and getting out into the city, you can experience the stories and the surroundings and really tie them in together. And so they differentiate from each other.
Great.
So I mentioned, all of our great walking tours. Bay City Tours does a fantastic ghost tour, which again, after dinner, you want to get back out and explore the city a little bit more. You're rested and feeling all charged up with a belly full of seafood. Bay City Tours can take you out and talk to you about ghost stories. Again, being an old city, there's lots of ghosts in a 300-year-old city. So
I'm okay with as long as the ghost tours don't involve anything related to my hotel. I'm good.
Make sure you mention that when you book your group tour. Because while some people may try to avoid that hotel, there are other groups that's the one that they want.
Yes, absolutely. And we all know those people. I am not one of them.
We can accommodate you either way. You just let us know. And again, I think I mentioned in itinerary that even though it is a ghost tour and there are some stories, it is very suitable for all ages.
Yes.
So we're not. It's not gory kind of stuff. It's some interesting stories. It's a lot of fun.
So now day 2 has my favorite tour on it, which is a food tour. So, but I'm going to let you start at the beginning of day 2, and we'll work down to that. So
yeah, like I said, day 2, I think I even put a couple different options on here because again, being a historic city with over 320 years of history, we do have a number of tour companies here that really highlight and focus on the history. We've got the Mobile Trolley Tours, Bay City Tours, and then a personalized tour of historic Mobile. So while they're all historic in nature, all 3 of these tours are very different and unique. The tour guides and their backgrounds are different. The parts of town that they'll take you through are a little bit different. So again, for groups that have the time and the interest in history to take all 3, by all means do so. But if you do have to limit it to one, you can't go wrong with any of them.
I think, Michael, I would like to say, having planned a lot of group tours, I think that this is a perfect point to identify and say to all of our tourism friends that with this many tour options, which you have a ton, it is really important, I think, that when you're planning, when you call these companies, to not just ask for the specific tour, but make sure that they know what you're trying to accomplish from a content standpoint, because with this many options, it will be hard. You need to ask them what they recommend. I think that oftentimes we miss that as tour operators. We call and say, I want that tour, and forget the part of the conversation, which should be, my group's looking for this. This is really what they want to focus on, because a lot of these tour operators that are doing these tours in your city can say, you know what, I can actually customize something that's specific to that, or I have this tour over here that's much better at hitting that topic. So I just want to say that out loud because you've got lots of great tour options in Mobile.
And that's a good point, Keith, and I appreciate that. And as a DMO, we encourage group tour operators to reach out to us because this is something that we can help with as well and guide you. And if you call me as a group tour operator and say, hey, I want to come to Mobile, and this is really the focus of my trip, and whether it's solely you're coming to Mobile, or maybe you're including Mobile as part of a bigger package along the Gulf Coast or Alabama or the Civil Rights Trail or wherever you happen to be going and exploring. If you communicate that to us, I can put you in touch with the operators that really specialize in those types of stories and experiences.
Yeah, that's great. That's fantastic. So
I'm sorry. I was just to wrap up with the history tours. We got a lot of historic neighborhoods and homes on the historic register. Some really great stuff. All these different tour companies have their own transportation, whether it be the trolley or vans, things like that. But they can also work as step-on guides as well and hop on to a motor coach. Although some of our most historic neighborhoods have very narrow streets and low-hanging trees, and so they're not always the most motor coach friendly, if you will. But those are things we can help you coordinate when we put you in touch with those different tour companies.
Great.
And then, as I put in here, no time to take a break from touring, just to have lunch. This company incorporates the tour into lunch. Bienville Bites Food Tour is a super fun tour. I've taken a number of theirs, and they're constantly adding new and creative ones. Not only do they do lunch, but they do some evening tours, and they even have added a few cocktail tours. And then I think they've got a sweet treats one where you just go around downtown and eat nothing but like beignets and cheesecakes and desserts and all kinds of stuff. So it's not just solely lunch, but some neat stuff. And they will incorporate not only the history of that particular restaurant. I think they usually incorporate about 5 or 6 different stops on the tour. It's typically about a 2.5 to 3 hour tour, and you'll stop get a little sampling of some food, learn about the history of the food, the restaurant, the cuisine itself. It may have some historical attachments to the city. And then you head back out and you burn off a few calories as you walk the block down to the next spot. And so again, really great way. And I know the tours I've taken, the first time I took it, I'm like, oh, we're going to get a little sample here and a sample there. You're quite full by the end. You do get a substantial amount of food over the course of 5 or 6 stops.
So does Mobile have a dish that that you're famous for? Like you go to Louisville, you have the hot brown. You go to Nashville. Every city kind of has something that's their thing. Do you have one?
I'm thinking I'm probably going to get all kinds of grief for this after the fact. People are going to watch this and see this and be like, why didn't you say that? Or why didn't you say that?
Okay, well, if that question is going to get you in trouble, then I don't want to get you in trouble. So
okay, we can edit this, right?
Yeah.
So let's test. My favorite dish is.
Yeah, there we go.
And then we'll think of something later, and you guys can just edit it into that spot. How's that sound?
I love it.
That's great.
Like I said, we got lots of different cuisine, that to choose from, and so there's no shortage. We'll find something for you. You'll find your new favorite.
And then you mentioned the African American Heritage Trail before, so
I did. When we talk about the Clotilda and the story of Africa Town, it's just such this rich historical time period, and there's so many stories to be told. And the Dora Franklin Finley African American Heritage Trail and Tour. They've been doing this for over 15 years. So they were doing this long before the Clotilda was rediscovered. And they have some 40 plus historical markers that they've put up around town. And they follow those and talk about the rich African American heritage contributions to the city of Mobile.
Wow, that's great.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And then the Blakely Blakely State Park.
Yeah, that's right. I talked earlier about some of the boat tour operations, and historic Blakely State Park offers. They've got the large pontoon boat I talked about, the 49 passenger boat that does a variety of different themed tours. They are also very easy to work with when it comes to customization. So not only do they have a dock at their park, there's also a dock right here in downtown Mobile on the Mobile River that's accessible. And then we have a number of waterfront restaurants in the area that also have a dock. And so there's great ways that you can incorporate the boat ride, the dinner. You could leave downtown Mobile by boat, go out into the Delta looking for alligators and birds, and then pull up to a dock and then walk inside and have dinner or lunch. Or there's lots of really great ways that you can piece this all together. And it helps you transition from one thing to the next. Again, get you off the bus and get you out on the boat, get you into the restaurant, and so on. So great ways to customize those types of things.
Great.
I mentioned kayaking, one of my absolute favorite ways to get out and explore. So it's not always for everybody, but for those that enjoy it, it's a really great way. Here in the Delta, it's usually pretty protected waters. We're not out jumping waves or fighting rapids, things like that. It's usually calm backwaters that you can kayak and explore, and to go out with an experienced nature tour guide that's going to help you with the kayaking aspect, talk to you about the wildlife, get you up into places that a motorboat can't go. And then while these may not be perfect for the whole 50 people on the tour bus, sometimes you can break a group down and half go shopping and half go kayaking or whatever. There's some opportunities to ways that you can. This stuff is all located close enough where you could drop a dozen people off to go kayaking while the others went and did some other things. And then come back.
That's great. That's great. It's nice to be able to give groups options like that on a tour. Yeah. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you go from wild native tours on in a kayak to a battleship.
Yes. So the USS Alabama battleship is and has been for many years probably our top rated and top visited attraction, not only in Mobile. It's one of the things that most people really associate Mobile with, but it tops in the top 10 of our state. When you think of the things that people come to visit, the battleship is one of them. It's right here. Literally, you can see it from the interstate. So it's a landmark, if you will. People traveling like, ooh, we're passing the battleship. We're almost to Florida or wherever. But they stop, and it's fantastic. Not only do they have the battleship itself, but the USS Drum. Both of these are World War II era ships, and they're both museum ships. So you get to go inside and explore. And I personally have been on the USS Alabama dozens of times. And I kid you not, every time I go, I get off that ship and go, I'd never seen that place before, or I found myself in a room or a corridor or a location on the ship that you just hadn't been before. And it's like this giant maze. And again, you get to crawl through it and climb through it and learn about the history. They're mostly self-guided tours where there will be colored numbers along the way that correspond to a map that you picked up on the way in. So they've got the battleship, the USS Alabama, the USS Drum submarine, and then a huge aircraft pavilion with aircraft of all different branches of military, all on display. And so whether you're someone that enjoys history, someone that enjoys the military, or just enjoys big things, I mean, you stand underneath the battleship and it's amazing how big this thing is. It's really incredible.
Fantastic.
Great. And then you mentioned the riverboat before, but I see here that there's a Sunday jazz brunch or a murder mystery dinner theater.
Yeah, they offer, a standard dinner cruise just about every night of the week. And then, like I said, on Sundays, they'll do a jazz brunch, and then a couple nights a week or varies the schedule with the murder mystery dinners. But you get out on the riverboat and you get to see the city lights of Mobile, the port of Mobile and Mobile Bay, and have dinner and drinks, and whether it be the music cruise or the murder mystery. It's just a fun way to go out and spend an evening. And again, these groups or these places are very group friendly. They would love to have a tour operator bring a bus or two in and go out and do the murder mystery tour.
And I want to share, that's fantastic. I want to share some of these photos that you have at the end of this itinerary. This obviously is also accessible in GTO, in the Supplier Manager, under your CVB, under your record. So you can look this up and look at these great photos, share them. You've got just some of the things that we've talked about on this itinerary. There's the African American Heritage Tour, the narrated boat tour. There's the kayaks. That just looks gorgeous. Really does. And there's our friend, the USS Alabama. And then the riverboat that we just talked about with a downtown right in the background. So that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Really great itinerary and really great options. And my gosh, I think that with what you talked about, you could probably fill 5 days easily.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You're the one, you made me narrow it down to 3.
So thank you so much for sharing all of your expertise and knowledge about your wonderful city and the area. It's just fantastic.
I appreciate it. I enjoyed it. It's one of my favorite parts of the job is I get to go out and talk about all this cool stuff that I get to see and participate in on a regular basis. And I get to go out and try and tell other people about it. So it's a lot of fun.
Makes it a lot easier to sell when it's an easy sale like that. That's for sure.
I'm not selling. I'm sharing.
Yeah, that's right. That's good. That's a great quote right there.
Hey, Michael, I got a quick question for you about the itinerary. So you remember earlier Keith had asked you if you guys are known for a particular dish or anything like that. Well, one of my friends watching the show just texted me and wanted to chime in and say, how about the oysters? Like, the oysters around Mobile must be great.
They really are
part of your culinary scene.
They certainly are. In fact, I talked about Bayou the Battery and having some shrimp boats, things like that. There's Murder Point Oysters, which is an oyster farm, which farms oysters right there on the southern end of Mobile Bay and then the northern Gulf of Mexico. So flame grilled oysters, raw oysters, you name it. They're definitely on the list. They're on the menu a lot of these places.
Cool.
I've never had a flame grilled oyster before.
I thought Stevie had Googled something and he was going to call me out.
Well, I think you guys have some sort of oyster trail maybe in Mobile.
We do, and the oyster trail is art. It's public street art, and the giant ceramic oysters that get placed all around the city, and different artists will paint them with different themes and things, and so there's the oyster trail is you can eat along the way, but it's really all about public displays of art, and you get to go around and see how these giant ceramic oysters, how different artists would interpret and use that as a medium, as a canvas to do all this really cool stuff. So we've also got some murals, downtown buildings that have been painted and in streets. And so there's a bustling art scene in downtown, a couple art galleries, once a month we have an art walk, which we open up one of our downtown parks to art vendors of all kinds. And so it's a great way. That's a great thing also for group tours to time their visit with art walk. And so you talk about dinner on your own and to be able to go out and explore the local art scene as well.
That's fantastic. You know, and I'm glad you brought up the walking, because it does sound like with all of the different tours and stuff that you guys talked about, that Mobile is a walkable city.
It really is, especially it's one of our highlights of our downtown area. We've got 60 plus restaurants. We've got museums. We've got access to a lot of these different tour companies. The number of hotels right downtown. So again, opportunities to get people off the tour bus. You know, you're traveling from some other city to Mobile, to be able to navigate Mobile on a way other than on the big motor coach is definitely a plus that we have.
Fantastic.
Nice.
I know that you were just talked about having a couple of large groups in recently. How's the group business picking back up? Are numbers looking good working into this next year?
They're getting there. You know, we slowed like everyone else. You know, we are definitely seeing an uptick in our leisure market, some of our smaller groups and family groups and weekenders, things like that. We are starting to see more of the tour bus operators pick back up onto our schedule in late 22. And I'm hoping and confident that's going to continue right into 23 and beyond.
Excellent. And, you know, I know we've been putting up your website address and everything, but if our operators, if our users want to find out more, or maybe want to talk or find other itineraries, how can they go about doing that? How can they contact you? Where should we direct them in order to get more information?
Mobile.org. Our website, our DMO City website, is really the best tool. And in fact, if you go under, I believe it's the Explore button, and there's a button that says Group Tours, there are some listed suggested itineraries. This one that I walked through today, there's this one and a dozen or more others. And again, these are really just suggestions, ways to get the conversation started. And then my contact information is in there. My whole team. You can contact us through that website. My phone number's on there. There's my personal email right there. You can email me anytime. I'm always happy to help. I want to be a resource for tour operators. If you're even considering Mobile, whether you're coming for 3 days, 5 days, or maybe you're just passing through and you're trying to find a reason to stop for kill an hour to maybe have something to eat, whatever the case might be, reach out to me. I'm happy to give you suggestions and find something that fits what you're already doing.
Wonderful. Well, Michael, you know, you gave us so much great information. And again, like you were saying, if they go to your website, there's even more. There's some great, great video. There's great photos and stuff like that. So you'll learn even more than we did today. So thank you so much for joining us. And, you know, hopefully you'll be hearing from a lot of our users as well. And we're going to get people down there to Mobile, Alabama. So thank you so much, Michael.
Thank you all. It's been an absolute pleasure. I really enjoyed this, and I appreciate the invite. And it's nice to meet you all. And again, I personally invite each of you to come to Mobile. And
thank you.
Look me up, and I'd be happy to show you around.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks.
Okay.
Well, just a reminder, as well as Destination Dispatch, which happens on Thursdays at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, we do have on Tuesdays GTO Coach and Go. GTO Coach and Go is where we bring on experts from our own team that will give information about how our GTO system works, whether it is updates to our system, just little pointers to help you utilize the system better and more efficiently. But you will be able to join us for those on Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. As well as these live presentations, we do have all of these on our YouTube channel. So the YouTube channel is a great archive for you to find previous Destination Dispatch episodes, as well as all of our GTO Coach and Go episodes. We also have some fun videos from our own team. So go in and explore that a little bit. Also, make sure to hit that subscribe button when you're there in YouTube. Follow us as well on our social media platforms and LinkedIn, and like our Facebook page as well. Keith, if they want to find out more about Group Travel Odyssey or learn a little bit more about Business Navigator, how can we go about doing that?
So, Jim, they can go to grouptravelodyssey.com, or they can reach out to you, me, Kara, Stevie G. Any of us can get you in touch with information about Group Travel Odyssey. One of the best places to start is if you go to the Contact Us page on the Group Travel Odyssey website. You can actually see a short video about the reasons why you should join GTO. And this show, Destination Dispatch, is one of them. So at least in my book it is. So please check that out. And then Business Navigator will be having an announcement next week about our next episode coming out in July. It's going to be based on the topic about supplier pricing. So we're going to talk about updated supplier pricing and when pricing changes for the coming year, and the struggles that we all encounter with that as tour operators and as suppliers.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for that. And Stevie G, as we said earlier, is the host of Destinations Beyond Expectations podcast. Stevie, tell us a little more about that and how we can tune in.
Of course, Destinations Beyond Expectations is the podcast designed for students of travel. Each week we highlight a different destination or travel topic to talk on and kind of explore further. New episodes every Friday, and this Friday we are actually going to the Florida Keys to talk about a 5-day Florida Key road trip itinerary. You can listen on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and more. You can also visit the website dbetravel.com. Again, Destinations Beyond Expectations, the podcast designed for students of travel. Don't forget to subscribe and tell a friend.
Great. Thank you for that. Well, once again, we do want to thank Michael for giving us all the fantastic information about Mobile, Alabama. And that is all that we have for today. Please tune in again next week.
Thank you for watching this episode of Destination Dispatch. We invite you to stay connected with Group Travel Odyssey on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. And be sure to check out more of our media, including GTO Coach and Go and the Destinations Beyond Expectations podcast. Please visit our website, grouptravelodyssey.com, where you can learn more about GTO and request a demo. Group Travel Odyssey, business without boundaries.